The Galactic Coalition laughed when Earth sent their ambassador to negotiate. After all, who sends a man in a coffee-stained suit, clutching a thermos, to a council of Star Kings? But what they didn't know was that humans only smile before the hunt begins. The Galactic Coalition had a tradition of recording their victories before the war even started. 1,000 species united under the banner of civilization, parading their technological superiority like royalty flaunting silk. Earth was supposed to be another notch on their imperial belt, a primitive blue-green marble with tools barely more advanced than sharpened sticks. So, when the Coalition's Grand Council summoned humanity for its official terms of integration, the aliens expected military brass, formal diplomats, or at least someone who could pronounce interstellar without chewing on vowels. Instead, they got Rick Harper. "Pleasure's mine, folks," Rick said, stepping onto the council dais, thermos in hand, wearing a suit that had clearly lost a battle with his morning coffee. His grin was wide, easy, and, worse, genuine. "Humanity's ambassador?" sneered Lord Korak, a reptilian tactician whose ancestors had conquered 3 galaxies by sheer disdain. His scales shimmered with condescension. "Do your people consider this a joke?" Rick's smile widened. "Oh, you've no idea how serious we can be when folks start mocking our jokes, sir." The council chamber, a cathedral of glass and starlight, echoed with polite alien chuckles. Somewhere, a scribe from the Avorian scribbled primitive humor attempt into the official record. Elder Zarval, an ancient being whose eyes seemed to have catalogued every mistake the universe ever made, leaned forward. His voice, soft as drifting dust, cut through the amusement. Humans have a tendency to hide sharpness beneath their smiles. Rick gave him a casual salute with his thermos. "You're a perceptive fella, Zarval. Mind if I call you Z?" Lord Korak clicked his mandibles in irritation. "Enough theatrics. Humanity will surrender its sovereignty, resources, and technological assets. You will be integrated into the coalition and educated accordingly." Rick swirled his coffee, pretending to consider. "Appreciate the generous offer, Lord Q. But YC, humans have a stubborn streak. We like to get the lay of the land before we go handing over the keys to our house." "We are offering you civilization," Korak snapped. "And we're offering you coffee," Rick replied, producing a small, battered percolator from his briefcase. He set it on the council's marble table as if it were a declaration of war. The chamber shifted. Aliens leaned forward, confused. The percolator gurgled defiantly. "Human rituals are quaint," murmured Valoria, a crystalline diplomat whose species communicated via harmonized vibrations. "But unnecessary." "Oh, it's not a ritual," Rick said, pouring himself a cup. "It's a demonstration of patience. You see, humans fix things. We tinker. We patch. And when duct tape doesn't work, we build something bigger. Not necessarily prettier, but effective." Korak waved dismissively. "Your species is decades, perhaps centuries behind coalition standards. This conversation is a courtesy." Rick's eyes narrowed, but his smile remained. "Well, we're flattered by your politeness. Now, before y'all annex us, could we have, say, a week to prepare a proper demonstration? Show you what we've been up to." Snickers rippled through the chamber. A week? To impress a galactic empire? It was preposterous. Zarval, however, tapped his gnarled fingers together in thought. "1 week," he said finally. "I am curious what terrors humanity can unleash in 7 days." Rick's smile sharpened, just a fraction. "Much obliged, Z." As Rick exited the chamber, council aides exchanged glances, amused by humanity's quaint optimism. The idea that Earth could pose a challenge was absurd. Their satellites were laughable. Their ships were clunky, fueled by chemical reactions that most coalition species used for children's science fairs. But back on Earth, beneath layers of bureaucratic misdirection and orbital camouflage, the Dyson project was humming to life. 3 days later, the Coalition's observation fleet entered Earth's orbit, lounging in what they assumed was safe territory. They brought with them the finest minds of the galaxy, eager to document the last human display before integration. What they saw was disappointing. A patchwork of solar panels, satellites duct-taped to expansion frames, and humans floating around in maintenance suits, wielding wrenches like barbaric tools. Is this their demonstration? Commander Rithik scoffed, lounging in his command chair aboard the flagship Valerian Pride. They're building a solar tanning array. Rick Harper's face appeared on their holodisplays, wearing sunglasses and that ever-present grin. Good afternoon, folks. Hope y'all brought sunscreen. Coalition technicians chuckled. Their scanners showed nothing but harmless energy relays and inefficient orbital scaffolding. A few junior officers even placed bets on how long the humans would last once the annexation began. Zarval, aboard his own vessel, frowned as he observed the swarm of structures surrounding Earth. They were too chaotic, too random, like a jigsaw puzzle where every piece looked useless until it snapped into place. Prepare fleet formations, Zarval ordered quietly. Back in orbit, Rick tapped a console. The disjointed swarm of panels and satellites began to shift. Segments unfolded, reflecting sunlight with surgical precision. Energy began to pulse, not in beams, but in harmonic waves, an orchestra of focused starlight bending reality itself. Coalition ships reeled as systems flickered. Rithik's smug grin faltered. What is this nonsense? Rick's voice echoed into every ship's comms, smooth as silk, sharp as a scalpel. Ladies, gentlemen, and various distinguished lifeforms, allow me to introduce you to the Dyson Armada. It's not much to look at now, but she's got personality. One by one, beams of concentrated solar energy lanced out, not as brute force weapons, but as precision strikes, slicing through Coalition vessels like a craftsman carving wood. Their shields, designed to deflect kinetic bombardments and plasma fire, had never encountered harmonically tuned photonic waves. Chaos erupted. Ships veered, alarms blared, and Coalition commands struggled to understand how humanity had transformed garbage into a galactic-level superweapon in under a week. You reverse-engineered Dyson technology? Rithik gasped, watching his fleet crumble. Rick sipped his coffee. Nah. Y'all just forgot to clean up after yourselves. We just fixed your mess. Humans are funny like that. The Coalition's arrogance shattered alongside their ships. What they had dismissed as primitive resourcefulness was, in truth, predatory ingenuity. Humanity hadn't challenged the Coalition directly, they'd invited them close, played dumb, and waited for the right moment to strike. As the remains of the observation fleet limped into retreat, Zarval's ship held position. He watched Earth spin beneath the Dyson swarm, a thoughtful smile forming. I warned you, he muttered, closing the comms. They fix things. The Coalition's humiliation didn't broadcast well. News feeds across the galaxy edited the footage, blaming malfunctions and solar anomalies. But the truth leaked faster than a human coffee pot. Yet, aboard the Coalition flagship Valerian Pride, Commander Rithik still clung to arrogance like a security blanket. They caught us by surprise, he growled. We recalibrate, we retaliate. Humans are still primitives. This was luck. Luck didn't disassemble 23 capital ships in under 3 minutes, but Rithik wasn't a fan of inconvenient math. His officers nodded, though their eyes flickered with unease. Prepare a second fleet, Rithik ordered. This time, we bring the dreadnoughts. In his mind, this was still salvageable. A glitch in history. A primitive species didn't outthink a galactic empire. That wasn't how the universe worked. On Earth, Rick Harper leaned back in a worn leather chair, legs propped on a table cluttered with blueprints and fast food wrappers. Y'all seeing this? He said, flicking a remote. The hologram displayed the incoming Coalition reinforcement fleet. Sleeker, larger, carrying weapons meant to end wars before they started. A small text notification blinked in the corner. Coalition label, Peacekeeping Armada. Peacekeeping, Rick muttered, chuckling. They really know how to dress up a sledgehammer. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Cara Monroe, sipped her iced tea. They're bringing dreadnoughts this time. Think we poked the bear too hard? Nah, Rick said, eyes glinting. We just showed them the mirror. They don't like what's looking back. He glanced at the Dyson Swarm's control panel. The humans had barely scratched the surface of what the thing could do. Coalition engineers, in their infinite pride, had dismissed microswarm AI management as inefficient. Humans, with less ego and a lot more stubbornness, had simply made it work. Activate Layer 2, Rick said casually. Let's see how they dance when the floor moves. The Second Fleet entered Earth's orbit with the subtlety of a marching band. Massive dreadnoughts dwarfed the First Fleet's remains, bristling with cannons that could fracture moons. Diplomatic communications open? Rithik barked. An officer nodded. Rick's face flickered onto their bridge, still holding that same damn thermos. Back so soon? Rick asked, as if greeting an old friend at a backyard barbecue. Hope y'all brought marshmallows. Things might get toasty. You mock the coalition, Rithik spat. Not at all, Rick replied. We just like to adjust expectations. Rithik's patience thinned. You're outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched. Rick's grin didn't falter. Funny. That's exactly what we said about you last week. The dreadnoughts unleashed their opening salvo, coordinated plasma barrages designed to overwhelm planetary shields. Only Earth's shields didn't activate. The Coalition fleet's sensors glitched. Sir, an officer stammered, our weapons are missing their targets. Impossible. But not quite. The Dyson Swarm had activated Layer 2, adaptive microlensing. Each solar array segment shifted in real time, bending light, distorting sensor readings, creating optical illusions that left dreadnoughts firing at holographic echoes. Correct your fire, Rithik roared. But their weaponry, advanced though it was, relied on targeting data. And humans had just turned that data into a funhouse mirror. Down on Earth, Rick tossed a marshmallow into his mouth. Remind me to thank Jenkins in R&D, he said, chewing. The OL man's duct tape algorithms are holding up better than I expected. Cara smirked. You think they've figured it out yet? Doubt it. See, coalition minds are built on linear superiority. Bigger ships, bigger guns, bigger mistakes. Humans? We're more of a fix it till it breaks, then fix it again kind of species. Up above, chaos unfolded. Coalition dreadnoughts collided with phantom targets. Plasma beams sliced through nothing but light tricks. Then Earth struck back. But not with brute force. That wasn't Rick's style. The Dyson Swarm deployed microdrones, tiny, nearly invisible machines that latched onto coalition hulls like space barnacles. Their job wasn't to destroy. Not yet. Their job was to humiliate. Power cores flickered. Shields inverted. Communications scrambled into loops of old Earth radio jingles. Somewhere on the Valerian Pride, an officer nearly lost his mind hearing a loop of "You deserve a break today" at McDonald's. What is this human witchcraft? Rithik bellowed. Rick's voice came through, far too cheerful. Just a little cultural exchange. We figured if y'all wanted to occupy us, you should at least learn our classics. The Valerian Pride's engines stalled. Its thrusters, now under human control, pirouette the massive vessel like a drunken ballerina. Stop them! Rithik screamed, though he had no idea how. Elder Zarval observed quietly from his personal vessel, untouched by the chaos. His species had learned long ago, humans did not need to invent new weapons. They just needed to make existing ones misbehave. Do you see now? Zarval whispered to no one in particular. They fix things. They fix them until nothing else works. In Earth's command hub, Cara watched as the Coalition fleet unraveled, not with explosions, but with dignified implosions of pride. We could end this now, she said. Deploy Layer 3. Vaporize their flagships. Rick shook his head. Oh, we'll get there. But first, they need to understand. You can't just bulldoze over a species who grew up fixing everything with paperclips and chewing gum. He opened a direct channel to Rithik's flagship. Commander, I reckon this little dance has gone on long enough. Might I suggest negotiations? Rithik's image appeared, face contorted with frustration, eyes darting as his ship spun slowly out of control. You humans are savages, he spat. Sir, Rick replied smoothly, if we were savages, you wouldn't be spinning in zero-G listening to our 20th century fast food jingles. You'd be ash. Silence. Zarval's voice, calm and resonant, broke through. Rithik. Listen. You're not facing brutes. You're facing apex engineers. Rick smiled. That's flattering, Z. Though we prefer problem solvers. The Coalition's grand fleet limped, metaphorically and literally, as Earth's Dyson swarm dimmed its glow, just enough to let them know mercy was a choice. Sir, Kara said, galactic networks are lighting up. Words spreading. Good, Rick said, standing. It's time the galaxy learned, humans don't fight fair. We fix the fight. The Coalition's second fleet had learned what the first hadn't. Humans didn't overpower their enemies, they dismantled them piece by piece, grinning as they did it. Commander Rithik floated helplessly as his dreadnought systems looped a 1980s Earth advertisement, "Have it your way," at Burger King. The irony was lost on no one. But the worst was yet to come. Activate Layer 3, Rick Hopper said, standing in Earth's command hub, arms crossed, tone casual. The Dyson swarm responded instantly. Above Earth, the scattered solar arrays began to shift, snapping into precise formations. The chaotic web turned into a vast lattice, symmetrical, deliberate, predatory. It wasn't a defense system anymore. It was a hunting net. Coalition sensors picked up the change. Dreadnought captains shouted orders, their voices tight with disbelief. Evade. Break formation. Scatter. But the Dyson swarm had already calculated their every trajectory. Humanity's strength wasn't in brute force. It was in the merciless precision of someone who'd spent centuries fixing things others had abandoned. From the lattice, beams lanced out, not wide, indiscriminate blasts, but fine, needle-thin strikes aimed at the Coalition's weak points. Weapon ports, engine cores, sensor arrays, all carved apart with surgical efficiency. Dreadnoughts found themselves blind, mute, and drifting, still intact, but useless. On the Coalition's flagship, Rithik watched as his entire fleet was dissected without a single explosion. "They're not fighting us," he whispered. "They're deconstructing us." Back on Earth, Rick leaned toward the comms. "Commander, you'll be happy to know we haven't fired a single warhead. Bad for the environment, you see." "You mock us," Rithik hissed, though his tone had lost its bite. Rick smiled thinly. "Commander, you mocked us first. We just prefer demonstrations over declarations." Meanwhile, Elder Zarval observed the dismantling with a quiet nod. His species had once built wonders across the stars. But they never built with Earth's philosophy: if it's broken, fix it. If it's working, improve it. If it's perfect, you're not done. He opened a direct channel to Rick. "I see now," Zarval said. "This isn't a war. It's an audit." Rick laughed. "That's one way to put it, Z. Y'all left a mess across the galaxy. Someone had to clean it up." Within the Coalition fleet, panic shifted into a cold, bitter realization. Their technological superiority had been turned against them by a species that still used duct tape as a primary repair tool. But the Dyson Armada wasn't finished. Layer 4 activated silently. From the lattice, microfabricators deployed, spraying nanobots into the void. These machines didn't destroy. They harvested. The Coalition's crippled ships were stripped of valuable alloys, wiring, even hull plating, disassembled with eerie efficiency. "What are they doing?" an alien officer stammered, watching as his vessel was peeled apart like a can of sardines. "Recycling," Rick's voice echoed through every ship. "We humans hate waste." Commander Rithik slumped in his chair, defeated. His fleet wasn't destroyed. It was being repurposed, stripped, catalogued, and filed away into Earth's ever-growing Dyson swarm. He had waged wars for decades, but nothing prepared him for this quiet, surgical conquest. You planned this from the start," he muttered. Rick's response was calm. "Of course. We don't like fights. But we're very good at ending them." Across the galaxy, Coalition outposts received fragmented reports. Human fleet? No. Just solar panels. Losses? All assets disabled, no casualties. They're reclaiming our ships. 1,000 species, once united in superiority, now realized they had awakened an enemy that didn't destroy for sport, but dismantled for efficiency. In Earth's command center, Lieutenant Kara Monroe monitored the data stream. "Sir, we've now assimilated 68% of their fleet materials. Dyson efficiency up 12%. Resource flow stabilized." Rick gave a satisfied nod. "Good. Send the Coalition a receipt." "A receipt, sir?" "Yeah. Let's be professional." Kara smirked as she transmitted a formal invoice to the Coalition High Command, detailing the salvage operations conducted on their fleets, complete with itemized listings of metals, circuits, and optional installation services. Meanwhile, aboard Zarval's vessel, a quiet conversation unfolded. "You understand," Zarval said to his aides. "This isn't an invasion. This is a repair job. The humans are fixing the galaxy, whether we like it or not." On the battered remains of the Valerian Pride, Rithik stared at the transmission from Earth. The receipt was polite, clinical, even offering a discount for future cooperation. "We're being conquered by scavengers," he whispered. "No," Zarval's voice echoed through his comms. "We're being conquered by the galaxy's first apex engineers. They didn't come to rule. They came to organize." Rick Hopper stood before Earth's Dyson Swarm Control Array, watching as once mighty Coalition dreadnoughts became neatly stacked resource modules within Earth's orbital infrastructure. "It's funny," he said to Kara. "They called us primitives. But who else would think to turn garbage into an armada?" Kara grinned. "Only humans, sir." The Dyson Armada, now larger, more refined, cast a vast shadow across Earth's orbit. It wasn't a weapon. It was a monument to human ingenuity, a message carved in solar arrays and recycled alien steel. Don't underestimate the species that never stops fixing things. Coalition Command, now stripped of 2 fleets, had no choice. They requested negotiations, not as conquerors, but as humbled participants. Rick accepted their transmission with his usual smile. "Well, look who's come to talk. Hope y'all are thirsty. We've got coffee on." The Galactic Coalition's Grand War Room had never been so quiet. Holograms of shattered fleets hovered above a polished obsidian table. The Coalition's finest, admirals, diplomats, strategists, stood around it, staring at data they could no longer twist into victory. At the center of the projection spun Earth's Dyson Armada. Their fleets hadn't been destroyed. They had been harvested, folded into the expanding latticework that now gleamed like a mechanical crown above Earth. A message blinked in crimson letters. "Incoming transmission, Earth delegation." The Council hesitated. "Accept it," Zarval said, his tone flat. "It's not a negotiation. It's a lesson." Rick Hopper's face filled the Grand Chamber's central display. Still the same grin. Still holding that battered thermos. "Afternoon, folks," Rick said. "Appreciate y'all taking time. I imagine things have been hectic on your end." No one spoke. Rick nodded, as if the silence was expected. He continued, voice friendly, sharp beneath the surface. "Now, I reckon we should clear up a few misunderstandings. First, humanity's not interested in conquering anybody. Too much paperwork. Second, we don't like wars. Expensive, messy, bad for business. But what we do enjoy, what we excel at, is fixing things. And from where we're standing, your coalition's a cosmic junkyard." Murmurs stirred among the delegates. Rick didn't pause. Y'all built an empire on the assumption that bigger guns make bigger empires. You didn't bother fixing what you broke. You just moved on. Left behind wrecked ecosystems, broken colonies, dead systems. Now, here's the kicker. You expected us to be just another piece of debris. His smile sharpened. But humans? We're scavengers with ambition. We see broken things, we patch 'em. We see a mess, we clean it up. And when someone comes laughing at our toolbox, well, we just improvise. Elder Zarval stepped forward, breaking the coalition's tense stillness. Ambassador Harper, what is it you seek? Rick's eyes softened, but his posture remained firm. We want cooperation, Z. Not submission. Not surrender. Cooperation. The galaxy's falling apart because no one wants to get their hands dirty. He leaned in, expression casual but calculated. That's where we come in. Humanity doesn't mind dirt. We'll fix your crumbling infrastructure, repurpose your junk, optimize your fleets. But make no mistake, if anyone tries to manage us, you'll get another demonstration of how creative humans can be under pressure. A crystalline diplomat, Valoria, spoke carefully. You dismantled 2 fleets, re-engineered them into your own infrastructure, and now offer cooperation? Rick chuckled. Valoria, I'd call that an efficiency upgrade. Your fleets weren't destroyed. They were reassigned. The chamber bristled with unspoken tension. Rick let it simmer. Here's our offer, Rick continued. The Coalition will recognize Earth as an independent neutral entity. You'll cease all annexation protocols targeting human territories. In return, we'll provide repair, optimization, and recycling services for Coalition fleets and infrastructure. A silence fell. Heavy. Suffocating. And what if we refuse? Commander Rithik asked, though his tone lacked its former bravado. Rick's grin didn't waver. Then we'll keep fixing things. Starting with your fleets. I'd say it's only fair. After all, you brought them to our doorstep. Zarval, ever the pragmatist, saw the inevitability. The humans had won, not through overwhelming force, but by exposing the Coalition's rot. Resistance was no longer defiance. It was delusion. He bowed slightly. Ambassador Harper, the Coalition accepts humanity's proposal. On one condition. Rick raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. You'll join the Coalition Council, not as subordinates, but as engineers. Advisors in all technological operations. Rick's eyes glinted. So you want the folks you laughed at to fix your empire? Zarval smiled faintly. We no longer find that amusing. Rick leaned back, satisfied. That's a fair deal, Z. You'll find humans aren't picky. We'll fix anything. Ships, systems, bureaucracies. He let the last word hang, a subtle jab that wasn't lost on anyone. Now, Rick continued, clapping his hands once, since we're officially partners, might I suggest we get to work? Y'all have a lot of broken toys, and humans hate clutter. Later, aboard Earth's command center, Kara Monroe reviewed the incoming requests. Sir, Coalition sectors are lining up for our services. Infrastructure repairs, fleet optimizations, even economic recalibrations. Rick sipped his coffee, watching the Dyson Armada hum above. Good. Time to show them what happens when you let humans into the workshop. Galactic broadcasts struggled to contain the narrative. They came in peace, some reports said. Humanity humiliated the Coalition, others whispered. But deep within alien networks, a new phrase circulated: quiet, reverent, wary. Never mock a species that builds its empire with duct tape. The Dyson Armada expanded methodically. Former Coalition ships, now gleaming with human modifications, formed patrols, not for conquest, but for restoration. Human engineers, once seen as backwater improvisers, now led teams of alien specialists, teaching them how to do more with less, how to fix instead of replace, how to think sideways instead of straight. In a quiet moment, Zarval visited Earth's orbit, observing the Dyson swarm up close. "You turned debris into dominion," he said. Rick stood beside him, gazing at the shimmering lattice. "Nah, Z. We turned it into potential. Big difference." Zarval nodded slowly. "And now the galaxy listens when humans speak." Rick's smile returned. "Oh, we're not here to talk. We're here to work." The Coalition Council chambers, once a symbol of uncontested power, now displayed Earth's banner alongside their own. Not as a subjugated world, but as an equal. Human quirks seeped into galactic policy. Meetings began with coffee. Reports included practical solutions, not just theoretical models. Efficiency charts hung next to resource salvaging plans. The galaxy, once built on layers of superiority and neglect, was now being re-engineered with human stubbornness and ingenuity. And beneath it all, Earth's Dyson Armada kept growing, not as a weapon, but as a reminder. A reminder that humanity doesn't need to invade. They just need to fix.